Welcome to the Laughspin.com podcast.
Hey guys, what's up? It's Dylan Gadino, founder and editor-in-chief of Laughspin.com and co-host of the Laughspin Podcast. Welcome to another episode of the Laughspin Podcast. This is a special edition thereof. Why is it special? Well, because Mike and I are not giving you the news this time. This, my friends, is just a straight-up interview episode, and we will, at the very least, have 4 additional special episodes of the Laughspin Podcast wherein we will just present to you some great interviews with some great comedians. This one is one of my favorite. This is a special one I did with Lewis Black. I sat down with Lewis Black for about an hour in Grand Rapids, Michigan during Gilda's LaughFest. And before I get into what we talked about at Gilda's LaughFest, let me just say a word or two about Gilda's LaughFest. It's the 3rd year they've been doing it. They've been doing it every March for 3 years. It's a 10-day festival. They do an outstanding job. I'm telling you now, it's going to be thought of in the comedy community as one of the premier comedy festivals in the country in a few years. The reason it's not now is simply because it's age. This year they had everybody from Bill Burr to obviously Lewis Black to Jim Breuer to Joel McHale, Garfunkel and Oates. They do a really great job of supporting the local scene. They integrate their local comics, and they integrate great up-and-coming comedians, and they integrate huge selling comedians. Oh, Brian Regan was the other one who was there. So definitely check out laughfestgr.org and see what they have been doing for the last 3 years. All the money that they make goes to Gilda's Club Grand Rapids, which, if you don't know, obviously Gilda's is a place where cancer patients and their friends and families can go for support. So that's LaughFest. Definitely check them out. As far as what me and Lewis and I talked about, it was great. It was such an honor to sit down with Lewis for an hour. We got a nice conference room at the Amway Hotel there in Grand Rapids. So it was nice and quiet. We had a great talk about obviously where his comedy is going. I asked about whether or not he'd be interested in doing another book, because I loved his all the books he's written so far. The answer, in short, is yes, but he goes into great detail about the plans for this upcoming book, which is very exciting. We talk a little bit about his personal life, which was so fascinating to me, because I rarely hear Lewis talk about his personal life in interviews. So we kind of got into why he decided not to get married, and just about his life on the road. We talk about politics. Obviously, with Lewis Black, you have to talk about politics. So we really get into it. So I hope you enjoy it as much as I enjoy talking to Lewis. And I know I've already been talking holy shit for almost 4 minutes. So I'm going to shut up. And here's the Lewis Black interview. Enjoy, guys. So hey, Lewis, how are you?
I guess I'm good. I'm good.
You guess you're good?
Well, it's still early. We haven't seen what the day has brought.
It's we should tell the listeners it's 12:15. So that's, what time do you usually rise from bed?
No, actually, I did radio early.
Oh God!
I didn't really get, and I didn't fall asleep till later. So I don't sleep great. So it's.
That's surprising that a guy like you doesn't sleep well.
No, I never have from the time I was a kid. It's exactly the same.
Why is that?
I don't know. I sleep in like I just have 2-hour naps, I call them, and then I wake up, and then I have another 2-hour nap.
Right.
I wake up, and then if I'm lucky, I get 2 more 2-hour naps, but generally it's just another 2.5 hour nap, and then I have to take a nap later.
Yeah. Is it because your mind is racing?
No, I wish. It's because I think as a kid, my mother, I really believe this, my mother really, my mother wasn't a great cook.
Right.
And so what I would do is I would wake up every couple of hours and go and have a cookie.
Okay.
And go back to sleep, and then and that's what I did on a 2-hour interval. I'd wake up because I was hungry. I'd go eat.
That's a lot like how we no offense here, but that's a lot how we treat my wife and I have a 1.5-year-old.
Yeah.
And that's been his process.
Yes,
that's been his process.
I know. It's really. So it might be that was the process. I don't know, but it's always been that way. And, now apparently, and then you get sleep apnea as you grow older, and then they say, wear a mask, and I'm not wearing a mask to bed, so.
Why? Oh, if it helps you.
Well, I'm not putting a thing on my nose and breathing oxygen, and it's just not. I have enough trouble falling asleep without accoutrements. Style essentials. And I've had friends who've tried it. You've got to. There are people who love it. I'm not really ready for that.
Yeah. So it would help your sleep apnea, but you probably wouldn't. You wouldn't ever fall asleep.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're wearing a mask. You're wearing an oxygen mask, sort of,
Yeah, it certainly doesn't seem...
There should be another approach. Not like you're in a pod going into space and you're out for that amount of time and then they wake you up and you're in another universe.
You might want to look into what Michael Jackson used to do.
Look, I'll be honest, I had a colonoscopy, and for all of the bitterness and people yell about it, it was the best sleep I've ever had.
I agree. I've had many. I guess I have something called Crohn's disease.
Oh yeah, I know that.
So every 2 years I get them. So I'm 35, but I get them all the time. Love them.
They're great.
Love the experience.
They're great.
The worst part, as you know now, is the prep.
Yes.
Before.
Yeah, that's the bad part. But then, boy, once you get in there and they 7, 6, 5, boom, yeah.
I wish now that I've gotten many, I've gotten a little bit more confident and brazen. So, like, I've asked them to try to make the falling asleep process last longer. They never do it. I mean, I'm sure if they end up killing me, that would be a bad thing. But that. Oh my God, that 5 to 10 seconds before you go under is the best feeling in the entire world.
And you never get that. I mean, you only get that if you're really, it happens like if you had a completely horrific day and you've kind of reached the end and you're really completely and utterly exhausted.
Yeah.
And then you have that, and you lay down in bed and then you just kind of drift off. But that doesn't happen.
Right.
And the sleep, I wake up after that sleep and I'm like, wow.
It's great.
That is terrific.
It's great. Yeah, I mean, I've told, my dad, who's at that age now where he has to get colonoscopies, and I was giving him advice, and I was telling him, don't be scared. It's great. You're going to love it. And so anybody out there who's fretting a colonoscopy, listen to Lewis and I. It's not so scary.
No, it's not. It's spectacular.
Michael Jackson had the right idea. Except
you don't do it really on a daily basis.
Right, you shouldn't do it on a daily basis.
Anything like that. It's like that. What is it? You don't do it that. What is the thing? You just in moderation.
In moderation, everything in moderation.
Yeah.
The drugs for a colonoscopy, in moderation.
Yes.
In moderation.
Procanol.
Oh, is that what it is?
Something like that.
I remember asking them at some point and forgot because I was
I'm sure
too high.
We could figure it out in 2 seconds.
We can Google
on
it
our phones.
We can probably get some.
Yeah.
You think we could get some delivered to Grand Rapids?
Not in Grand Rapids. Sure.
And we are in Grand Rapids. I should mention that you're here for LaughFest. This is actually my third year covering the festival because I love it so much.
Is that right?
It's great. I know your good friend Kathleen Madigan has done it twice, I believe.
Yeah, she has.
And I know the folks in Grand Rapids love her. They do a really good job. I don't know. I mean, you got here when? Last night?
I got last night. Yeah, no, I mean, it's like unbelievable. It's, they cover the city pretty well. I mean, it's kind of like, without the industry, anytime the industry's not around.
Yeah.
It's really good. I mean, seriously, it's, Just for Laughs without industry would be great. There was the Kilkenny Comedy Festival in Ireland, which really had no industry. Great.
I hear nothing but great things about that place, about that fest.
Boston has a comedy festival run by my friend Jim McHugh that I've tried to help, but the city hasn't. I don't get it. The city hasn't really put its heart into it. Really, I mean, the city itself.
Yeah.
I mean, here this is like. This is the weekend, or the week, and this is what we're doing, and here's who's coming in, and it's really well done.
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with the size of the city.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a very big hometown feel to it because it's not a huge city, and people are genuinely excited for this 10-day event, and they just...
It's that long? It's 10 days?
It's 10 days.
Wow.
They started this 2 years ago. Not, hey, let's try 3 or 4 days. Right out the gate, they did 10 days, and
wow.
And
it's a really pretty city. I mean, I came here. I mean, what's amazing to me, and it's something what really I find kind of extraordinary. I've played almost every city around here that's humanly possible to play. Waukegan. Joliet, I just came. What was it? We just did Peoria,
right?
Kalamazoo. Kalamazoo's I never have played. I played this town when I was way back. I played a club here called Grins.
Right, sure.
Way back, like 15 years ago, and had never gotten back into this town until now. So it's
wow.
So I'm pleased. But and literally in that time, when I first came here, they had the place called the Bob, which is this beautiful building that they had the Gerald Ford Museum, and it was kind of a sleepy little place, and it was nice. And but now it's like it's a great place. I mean, it really is. It's got a great downtown.
Yeah,
it's got a great feel to it, and it's
pretty.
Yeah,
agreed. I wanted to talk to you about. There's at the beginning of this year, I tried to make an effort on a personal level to get more in the know about politics and what's happening in the world. I've been listening a lot to Sirius XM's POTUS channel, which I'm sure you're fairly familiar with.
I did their kickoff event. It was brutal.
Oh, really?
Way back. I mean, brutal. Like one of the worst places you can appear is in D.C. in a bar with people who are into politics.
Yeah.
I mean, they really no interest in you or anything else. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I was born and raised around there, so.
Yeah. So, well, I like that channel because they do a very good job of remaining unbiased.
Right.
But this is my observation, and tell me if you feel similar or you disagree. I feel like the more I listen to unbiased news, and the more I hear about what's going on in the Senate and in the House and everything, I feel like nothing gets done, and that's not. I feel like I'm saying that not as an outsider who's just listening to whatever everybody else is saying, but as somebody who actually is really trying to make an effort to understand what's going on in Washington. I just don't understand I don't understand. The one thing I would love to get your opinion about is the gun control bill, and I'm sort of are you surprised that it's gone from Dianne Feinstein's amendment that wanted all these sort of what seemed like helpful additions to the gun control laws to basically what's going to come down to, more stringent background checks. Are you surprised? Like,
no, nothing surprises me
really
anymore. We have no. My act is kind of based on it. We got no focus anymore. So we're lucky we're getting that if we get it. I mean, first problem was is the use of the word. What really didn't help was when it was probably the NRA, but they came up with the words gun control, because then the next door that opens is, well, then they're going to take away our guns. That's
right.
The logical conclusion, and it's not gun control. It's what are the safe ways in which we can deal with the issue of guns in the home and in the workplace. And then what I thought was interesting was Gabriel Gifford's husband, who spoke in front of the Senate and said, and called it gun violence.
right.
Which really puts it, then you can, that takes it into another realm where you can actually deal with it. I mean, look, watching her talk, her statement before them, it was if you didn't get it from that, then you're not going to get it. So, and there are a lot of people who are like, that's kind of, that response of like, it's, all you're doing is pulling at the heart, the heartstrings of America. You're not really. This is not. The issue is not that. The issue is our freedom. And it's the great line that that at what point does your freedom impinge on somebody else's freedom?
Right.
Or what level of stupidity do you want to live at? But I've been involved in the Brady. With the Brady group for a long time, and they are really about as middle of the road as you can be. And they're the ones who got the groups that was involved in the automatic weapons bill being passed initially, and then they let it lapse. And once they let it lapse, they open the door. And if you look at the deal, if the business of America is business. If you look at the number of guns that were purchased right after the violence, the shootings in Newtown.
Yeah.
They were lying in Michigan. There was a thing. They were lined up in front of a gun store. It took you 4 hours to get into the store.
Yeah.
And if you had any brains at all and wanted colonoscopies all the time, you would get out of this laugh crap thing and get yourself a nice little gun shop at the end of the road. It's extraordinary.
Yeah.
I mean, look, am I surprised? You go Virginia Tech. That was the end of my surprise when you go, okay, so we're not going to do anything. Nothing. And then you go to Columbine. Nothing. I can't remember which one, but I think it was Virginia Tech, Columbine, then the movie theater, and then Newtown, and you kind of go and I thought, well, what's next is somebody goes into a place where goes into a hospital to where newborn babies are and shoots newborn babies.
Right.
At what point?
And maybe that's going to wake people up.
Yeah, but then they'd say, the doctors should be armed. I mean, and what's interesting is about the argument in the end is you never hear. All they say is, if you never give me specific instances in terms of this kind of thing, I'm more than willing to listen to you, but you never give me an instant, if you had a gun, then would be prevented. Well, show me what instances.
Right.
In New York City, there was a shooter on the streets in 34th Street, near the Empire State Building. He starts shooting. The cops come out. They shoot. The bystanders, get shot, and they get shot by the cops because the bullets are bouncing off things. It's like ludicrous that if somebody, and there were people in the that had guns in certain situations, and what do you think? Look, you get an obsessive compulsive nut job. And put a gun in their hands, they might figure out that which end of the lobby they're at. These people are sitting around, they act as if, well, if he's crazy, he's not. Well, if he's crazy, then he's really crazy. He's crazier than you are, so he's keeping an eye out.
Right.
It was like the guy this morning. So they shoot in upstate New York. A guy wanders in today and starts firing on people.
That's right. I was just reading.
And what's the big industry in that area? The Remington guns. I mean, so we live. Everything we do is kind of there's for everything that's this is great. It's there's. It's really great we got all these freedoms, and it's also, at times really not the best thing. It's not the healthiest thing.
Yeah, I mean,
and you hate to say that.
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, now that I see how things are unfolding and how, it looks like, the effort to try to ban assault-style weapons and the high-capacity, magazines. As I read and as I learned that that's probably not going to happen, I was so naive. I really thought after Newtown, I was like, well, I mean, there's no doubt that they're going to at least ban, what's been defined as assault weapons. And I can't believe.
Well, even if they don't ban assault weapons, limiting the magazine would just start. I mean,
but it doesn't even look like they're going to do that.
Yeah, and all of a sudden and it's like we do this all the time. We live in we govern from the caboose of the train, if they still had cabooses, but apparently they don't anymore.
Don't they?
I heard recently that the caboose has been taken off because there's no
need for it.
There's no need for it. There's no.
Not even for nostalgia's sake.
I would just if I love trains, so I would if I could hook up to something that wasn't carrying radioactive material across the country, I would like to sit in the caboose. But we govern from the caboose, so something where it happens, and then 3 days later we react. We don't stay ahead of anything. We react. We always act after. So the bridge falls in and this was the bridge falls in Minneapolis.
Yeah.
Horribly, and the next day, in every state in the union, or most of them, they went out and looked at all their bridges, as if it was, oh, that's right, we've got bridges, and so it's the same. This it should have been limited beforehand. There's no reason this guy should have been able. These people should be able to be carrying this stuff around. None.
Yeah.
But they didn't even do it. They didn't even make the attempt to do it beforehand. So, to try to get it done after, and they've already, they've weathered, every time it happens, they weather the storm.
Yeah.
Or they point, look at what happened in Norway. Look at that guy. He went to that island or Sweden or wherever the crazy man showed up and started shooting kids. Look at what happened there. I mean, all you can do is try to limit it, And now when I say, govern from behind, now they kind of go, oh, that's right, we have crazy people. Like all of a sudden they discovered mental health again. But the fact of the matter is that, I mean, things get done, other things, things don't get done, other things get done. Reagan basically closed the mental hospitals in this country.
Yeah. At
the time, I thought, you have got to be kidding me. And essentially, well, now we have to. Well, it's how do you do that? I mean, and they're wandering. I mean, I was just in I forget what town I was in. They're wandering. Oh, Nashville. There, has a really this beautiful, nice downtown, and there are all these people kind of wandering around aimlessly, and and some of them, granted, are probably poor and or kind of reached it because of drugs, and people. A lot of people who reach it because of drugs, they're self-medicating. I mean, it's like, but you have no way station for these people.
Yeah.
And then you wonder, why they snap. It's just, I mean, it's kind of clueless.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully, the the extended background checks will address some of the mental health issues. I don't know exactly what they.
Well, the fact that we got computers, we can do 12 billion things with them, and these pricks haven't figured out how to put it together yet.
I know.
So that that there's one database or something there that something can, how do you not hook these up? I mean, it's beyond belief. But meanwhile, it's no problem in Silicon Valley for them to have guys sitting around 18 hours a day trying to come up with a new widget for a new hookik, but you can't get it done.
Well, because they can't get it done because I feel like they don't want to get it done because the NRA is so powerful, and they create a database, and all of a sudden they're going to claim, well, you're infringing on our civil liberties. You're going to use that database to take our liberties away.
Well, that's going to stop. I know that they're going to have to do it because they marginalized it. It's not a gun issue; it's a mental health issue. So
right.
they'll live with it. I'm pretty sure that they have to.
Yeah.
There's no argument they have. They can say whatever they want, but there's really in the end no argument that you have to deal with and it's a smart thing to do, and it's in a lot of ways. And then there's people who are, and there are people who are going to get hurt by the blowback of being on that list. I was on the no-fly list for a while.
Were you really?
Well, because my name is somebody else's name, and that's how I ended up on the no-fly list.
Who was that other person?
Lewis Black, the other Lewis Black. Former terrorist Lewis Black.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
Yeah, no, it's really extraordinary. It was.
Did you tell them that you should be on the list anyway? No. As the actual Lewis Black?
No, I did not. I wanted to get on the plane and get out of there. But I had to stop every time and go through 20 minutes of nonsense.
That's interesting. That's interesting.
But they can't. It's like the thing with the. I do this in my act. I mean, it's you've got a group of people who are telling me that they're worried about their freedoms and being. And the information that that the federal government has now.
Right.
Because somehow that government, which is, for all intents and purposes to them, the group that screams about that, they also scream simultaneously that this group is completely inept. That the federal government is completely inept, and the institutions there within completely inept,
right.
Run by people who are completely inept. But somehow the only thing you're good at is tracking.
Right. So what are they worried
tracking
about?
Your guns. Right. But meanwhile, they carry around a phone that tells the phone company exactly where they are on the planet Earth.
Right.
And they have information that is gathered on a daily basis by Google and Facebook and whoever else can get their hands on your information, and not to make it easier for you to get through an airport, which which an identity pass would do,
right?
But to kind of this is basically to target you as a consumer. That doesn't faze them. That freedom doesn't faze. It's unbelievable. You trust the phone company more than you trust your own government. It's extraordinary. It's the phone company, you asshole. When was the last AT&T gave a shit about you? Fucking morons.
Yeah, what is it that, that it's an excellent point. What is it about guns and gun ownership? I mean, I grew up, in the New York tri-state area. You grew up in, outside of D.C.
Right.
I'm guessing both of us grew up in places where guns were not a huge part of our culture. What is it about gun ownership that I don't understand? I don't know if you understand it. What makes people so scared?
Well, I don't think it's so many people. that are in that kind of NRA boat of you're coming to get my guns. I don't think it is.
Well, then why is nothing happening then?
Because, and that's another thing I don't understand. I don't understand the power of that lobby. Most of the people in the national, apparently from the numbers, the people, 70% of them agree with background checks. A lot more than you would imagine agree with limiting the magazine, etc. They have I don't know why a union. I lived in D.C. I don't know why unions are powerful. It's like, Rush Limbaugh is, supposed to be a very powerful voice. He's got 20 million listeners, 30 million, 40 million. There's 260 million other people in the country. I mean, so give me a break. He's got his influence is more than what he's bringing to the table, really, and they give him more than he should be given in the same fashion that these guys are being given more than they should be given, and we don't have what makes it strong. There's no counter NRA.
It's true.
There's no groups of my parents who it's like as they say in the act now. It's the my parents didn't hunt for game; they hunted for buffets.
I think,
and I'll tell you this: going on stage and talking about it here will be interesting in Grand Rapids. If I remember to talk about it, because a lot of times it's just not worth the energy. It's like, I have some jokes about it. I basically point out you're delusional if you believe that that I'm going to come. I've had people say you're going to take my gun away. Really? There's a game on tonight. I'm not
like I'm worried about you.
And I got other shit to do. And if I get a night off, I'm not going to waste it. Wandering around your house looking for your guns. I mean, it's completely and utterly delusional. I mean, on such a stunning level, and I do believe all in charge are culpable. That these assholes in the Congress don't stand up the way they don't stand up a lot of the time and go, and just as a group say, nobody's coming to get your gun. Can we move on can we go to the next point in the discussion?
Yeah.
And they all know that. And it just is, and it proves once again there are no adults left in the goddamn room.
Yeah, it certainly seems that way. This is part of the reason I think I wanted to talk about the Pope a little bit, mainly because I feel like the gun control, the things in the news right now mostly gun control, the budget, what's his face, Paul Ryan's budget, which I think is the same as the last two budgets he proposed.
Yeah, and the immigration is going
to... Immigration.
They'll be talking about, that they took off the table. I mean, it's unbelievable.
So I think that's why everybody loves to talk about the Pope, because to me, it's just such a kind of a frivolous thing to think about. I was raised Catholic. I mean, obviously I'm not... as George Carlin said, I'm not Catholic anymore. I mean, it's just why are people obsessed about the Pope, who the new Pope is? I mean, the Pope.
Well, A, it's a great story. B, it's like it's like being in a time machine. You don't really have the opportunity to go back into the past, but this is the best opportunity. These people are living. We're here in Grand Rapids in a conference room, and it's when you've got a laptop computer and and all the tweeting that and the first tweet was, I don't care how many tweets come out of there. It's like a tweet from the 16th century, or the 9th century, the 8th century. I mean, it's really beyond my comprehension that and there's and also for all of its downside. I'm big on Catholics. I like Catholics because they really took the Jewish guilt and created a whole other. We created it. You guys codified it, and it's continuity. And there's so few things, really. Anything that lasts a long time.
Yeah.
It's kind of like it's why I get a certain amount of. Of what I'm respected because I've just lasted. longer.
You're comfortable.
That they kind of go, oh, and he's still here. Isn't that a good thing? But the longer something hangs in, and this is really, and it's I've been through 4 or 5 popes, or 6 popes, 5 popes, and you kind of go, and here they go again, and they do the same thing, and it was quick though. I thought they would take their time with it.
Yeah, they had a mission, and they did it.
And the good news is they discovered South America. Well, good. Let's see what happens. I don't think it's going to make any big difference. You're going to, we're not going to get. We're not moving out of the celibacy thing.
No. Women priests.
No, they're not.
They're not there yet.
Because they're so hooked on faith.
Yeah.
So it's all. I mean, that's a big hook.
Yeah. Do you have another book in you, Lewis? I want another Lewis Black book.
I know. It's weird that you asked. I meet with my editor, who I like a lot, and he basically. I wrote a play that was done around the country recently. Mm-hmm. I wrote the play 35 years ago, and then 12 years ago I took it out with a friend of mine, and he's a director, and he said, I think I know how to fix it. This was the play that probably would have really, if all things had gone correctly, in the sense of, it was the play that came close to his option for Broadway. I thought it was going to get some play in regional theaters. I knew it was always problematic.
This is original 30 years ago?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
35. I mean, I wrote it in 1982. It was produced like in 83, mm-hmm. 84. It's very much it's a romantic comedy that's a farce. If my name wasn't on it, people wouldn't know that I wrote it. I wrote it because I thought, I got to write something people want to see, because if I really want to stay playwriting-wise, if I write something people want to see, then I can go back and write something for myself,
right.
And then I can get a teaching job. But it never made it even into the regional theater route. So it was done it was done here, it was done there. But then they were optioning it for Broadway, and everybody and their mother read it, but it could not get there. And meanwhile, I was watching plays I'm like, basically you're lucky if a play is 70% complete. Mm-hmm. I mean, just because of the nature of the beast of writing a play. If it's 70% of what it should be, then it's pretty good. Well, I thought I was at 70%. And so then we went back and we got it to probably 85 to 90% with my friend. We did 4 workshops over 12 years. And then it got done up at Williamstown and done out in Seattle and back in Jersey. And this summer it'll be in, you're going to want to race out to Wellfleet, Massachusetts.
What's the title of the play so people know?
It's called One Slight Hitch.
Okay.
And so I was sitting with my editor, because it was because last year I didn't, because of what I did last year was deal with the play. That was my writing.
Right.
And but my editor and I were talking, and I said, I think the story of how this play came to be is an interesting story, and I think because I talked about it a lot. You do press and all of that, and it's kind of interesting how it came to be and what and dealing with so you think you want to be a writer, and he said, because I'd read a book by Neil Simon which was interesting, but I thought he met like everybody, so there's no interesting anecdotes about working with Robert Redford.
Right.
It's just kind of about work with Robert Redford. So I said, well, I worked with people that nobody knows, but the stories are much more interesting.
Right.
So I said this, and he went, well, you can write this I think this will be a really good book if you want to write it as a piece of fiction. So I've been waiting.
Interesting.
So I had proposed writing fiction for him since I met him years ago, and said, and he was like, no. But he said, I think this would be a really good fictional book. So it might. So I'm sitting down with him. I have to write 20 pages, mm-hmm. And to see if it's really doable. What it would be about is, I think, it would be about the play in essence and the arc of the play, but a lot of the book would be about living in New York in the early '80s, which was Studio 54, but living on the fringe of it,
right?
Not being broke, and and across the street is one of the major gay baths in the United States, in New York at that time, the St. Mark's. You're in the East Village, and the whole, just all of that, which I found it to be a kind of an interesting time. Living next door to a hair salon in the day, and at night a roller disco. It was really unbelievable. So we'll see if that's.
So this is kind of meta, because it's so it would be basically a novel.
Yeah.
About this play that actually exists.
Yeah.
And is being produced.
Yeah. But it would really be, But I got excited because in part I went, oh, good, I don't have to remember stuff. I can just make shit
right.
up. But I don't know, and we'll see if he has any other ideas. The other idea I had was to take all of the stuff that I've done. Is if you take, I've noticed in my act, because I'll come back to certain themes, and if I thought. With the whole ton of things that I've done, all of the CDs and DVDs of putting like all of the religious stuff together and showing and taking it through, so
like an evolution,
putting it all together, because it all fits together. It's all part of one larger puzzle. I mean, not that I went, oh boy, I'm going to do this. It's just the way, because I find myself on stage and there's a. So I talked about I've talked about Farmville before in my act, and da-da-da-da. And then I'm back on stage talking about Farmville again, because I went, oh no, it's not just this, it's that. This is the other thing. This is how it works as an example of why else it's screwed up. So you put those two together, all of a sudden, I think in the end you see that it's a larger, that I'd like to tell the story in a book, just to put it down, and
right.
then, as opposed to, it's not, this is, granted it's my act, but this is really the whole act.
Right.
It put together.
Yeah. Well, good. That's
Which is another one, but I don't really want to do that one yet, because I really would like to do, a couple, I'd like to keep the run going and then sit down at the end and go, okay.
Right. That's good, because I remember.
When they've forgotten about me, and then they go, and he's got a new book. 77-year-old Louis Black. Why at this time?
I remember your last book I read in one sitting.
Yeah.
Which is amazing for me, because I have a really bad attention span. But I think it was in that book where I think in the intro you said how you didn't think you had any reason to write a book. Or your editor said you should write a book, and it was.
Well, what my editor said was he wanted me to write a book about Christmas.
Oh, that's right.
And I said, I don't really want to write it, but I don't give a shit,
And really, in the end, it certainly was pegged on the holidays, but really, in the end, it was.
No, it was about being single.
Yeah.
It was about the difference between being in a family or having and creating a family, and being married to your career.
Yeah.
And I found it to be the only, because there's not a lot that I see. There's not a lot of books about people being single and that choice, and it's not an easy choice. It upsets women. It upsets women you see that how come.
Yeah.
What's the matter with you? And it's got nothing to do with anything other than that I look, if somebody fucking paid attention to me when other comics would go, how do you not have an agent? How come people don't know who you are? And then, or like not getting, not being told by an agent that it's stupid. I'd gotten a call. It was I forget, they were one of the big ones for me, one of the big screw-ups is, so this prick doesn't call. It's Stand Up New York, they're doing a, what do you call it, a night of, auditions, for the HBO stand-up special. I had a really good slot, and I was never noticed. And comics called me and said, "Where were you the other night?" I was sitting at home. And so stuff like, so as a result, by the time I kind of really break out, and I'm getting offers to do things that I've waited my whole life for,
right?
That became what I did, and so it really I ended up, just by the way things were, I ended up married to my career, because I don't believe in the adage. I never believed in the adage. We'll just we'll get married and we'll see. We'll make it work out. No, right. Bullshit.
Yeah,
make it work out. You get fucked, and I watched too many people in the course of my life get fucked, and I was not gonna have that happen.
Right. No, it's a responsible choice, because doing what you do, I mean, you're in the middle of a tour now. You're constantly on the road. When you're not on the road, you're like you said, you're working on the play. You're doing a million things. So how you have to either find an extremely understanding woman, or a woman who maybe isn't all there to deal with this.
Yeah, I've found a few of those in my life.
Which I'm sure is fun for a little while, but
early on I found a few that really weren't there. But early on, way back, even before the stand-up, theater, I found a few in the theater. But no, you're right. I mean, it's like I was always impressed. Ray Romano, the guys, Ray was like 4 kids. And Jim himself, Gaffigan, has, I think, 5 children.
He's got 5 kids now.
5 kids. I just think I told him, it's just not right that he's actually, that there's 5 more of them, that this is going to continue. His DNA goes on and on.
Yeah.
But, I admire them for that ability to be able to juggle it, because
right.
I have...
well, they work closely together, Jeannie and Jim, I mean,
yes.
So that, I guess, is how...
Well, that in part...
They help, that helps.
It's a big help, and she's really, she's the brains there.
Right, she's probably,
But that really does, but still, 5 is... impressive. I mean, really, it is. And it's not like, that's a mistake. Then there's... and Ray did it early on.
Yeah.
And that's, it takes a really, someone who's willing to kind of, make that choice. And I think for me, just psychologically, I can, having spent years in therapy, watching my mother, in a sense, who's really was, having to listen to her, and the fact that the career, that she was never like outspoken about it, but you realize that she ended up not doing a career to end up in the home, and you right. kind of not you in the end, watching that as you're growing up, you don't want to put someone in that position,
right?
So you want them to be able to. And so that in essence motivates in part where you come from initially in terms of relationships. I do think that in the end it's it really was for me it's someone who does do it. It's I'll go on the road with you. Well, that's even more insane than staying home and having a family, just in the sense of, what is your life? What is it that someone can do on a tour bus that allows them, that they can, unless they're blogging or some shit.
Right. Yeah, no, you're right. They're basically, you are their identity then.
Yeah.
Because if their job and if their role in the relationship is just to be with you while you crisscross the country, then
Yeah.
I don't know. Then I would start to feel guilty.
Well, that's exactly.
That maybe I was, preventing this person, and maybe she doesn't, maybe she thinks she's doing what she should be doing, but maybe she has potential to do something else.
No, it's yeah. So that's the way but that was what I liked about the book. I said it's a book about being single disguised as a Christmas book, and I don't know how many people, I appreciate you talking about it, because I don't know how many people ever really picked it up, because they just thought, oh, this is a book about Christmas.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was interesting, like a quarter of the way in, a third of the way in, I started thinking, I'm like, why, why is this a Christmas book? And then I thought, well, for whatever reason, I'm not a good business person per se. So I thought, well, for whatever reason, the publisher wanted a seasonal book from Lewis. So I'm like, well, they said, let's do a Christmas book, and we'll try to shoehorn Christmas in there. But it was really, I hope it sold well. I hope the Christmas theme didn't take away.
No, it did okay. It didn't sell as well as Glenn Beck's Christmas book, and but it sold well enough. What it did do, though, for me more than anything else, and I'm lucky in that respect. I got lucky, once by establishing a name for myself, because of all of the appearances, etc. It allowed a publisher to say, oh, my first choice, which was to write, for them to go, oh, you want to write a book? Well, yeah. And then you want to write it. And the first book did well, so you want to write a second book. And this was really the first book I said it had a real through line. I thought this was the first time I felt, okay, I can write a book. And that's what I need to find for the next, is to find, if I write the fictional book, what's that? That's everything that I do is based on, the stand-up in part is finding the through line. That's, my special is always built hopefully around that's where, but when I kind of get the through line of it, I'm done.
Right.
As opposed to just all of the jokes, it's as important to me to have that, the story, whatever story I'm telling. I'd be hard pressed to explain what the story is, but basically, fucking, I know instinctively that I'm telling a story.
Right. And speaking of a special, are you working on the new hour? Or?
Oh yeah, I'm working on it, and I'm getting ready to kill people.
Okay, good.
Because it's really I'm in a real. This is the quandary, and I deal with, and it's becoming irritating by leaps and bounds. I waited around for HBO after I did 2 specials for them, and then they said, we're going to do your next special.
Right.
We're going to do a special with you every 2 years. Well, great. That works for me. And then the guy who was the head of HBO, who's now at Starz,
right? He
was summarily kicked out.
Yes.
And with his exit, I went. So they said, no, we're not going to have the emphasis we're going to have in comedy. Well, yeah, you are, because you had Ricky Gervais do a special, and then others did special, and I'm like, so it was finding. So what eventually happened was I went, I'm going to have to fucking produce this myself, which is what I did. I was lucky enough. There was my tour manager, Ben Brewer, and Jack, and I'm going to.
From Comedy Central?
No, not Jack Vaughn,
okay.
who's also been terrific and an unsung hero, at least in terms of my being disseminated. He's been good. He basically got it, Comedy Central made it a DVD, this Stark Raving Black. So, but Jack, and I can't believe I can't, but I'm terrible at it, but he came along and basically showed me how I could do this. And get it up and get it done, and then my agents, and they put it together, and so it was done. So I could go ahead and get it done and not have to wait.
Right.
And so that went on, but it ended up on a great channel that nobody sees called Epics.
Yep.
And Epics, meanwhile, is doing Jim Norton and Eddie Izzard and
They just did Tom Papa. I was just there.
Did they do Papa?
Yeah.
Good. Oh, that's good. I like Tom. I think he also doesn't get his due. And I did another. But I was thrilled that they helped me get it up and out. They just haven't, expanded. I think that's coming. I mean, and they've got this treasure trove of stuff that people, they have the Black Crows. They've got all of this stuff that's sitting there. They've just been stockpiling, and I've been part of their stockpile. and so we did another one in Detroit, and then everything changed. Then the whole model changed because I can't think of the name of the group. There's a group that comes along, and they start shooting these specials for $150,000, $100,000 a pop. Streamlining them, getting them up, kind of the Comedy Central, doing them for Comedy Central, also for Showtime. So all of the stuff, so that my last special, which looks, in a sense, it was my father's painting,
right?
That we used as the set. I'm kind of glad we got that up and out there. More, as much for me as for, and probably more so for the set itself. And it's so we do that. It goes to Epics again. Now the model has kind of gone into a complete change, and so you have that kind of I would like to call it guerrilla, whatever, but it's just okay. We're going to shoot it for this, and then we're going to do that, and we're going to optimize this, and there's
right.
And then you've got on the other end, you got Louis C.K. busting it down, or Bill Maher doing it on Yahoo, or Jim Gaffigan and Aziz Ansari, and so the model changes. We're literally, so I'm sitting between, and I do not have the technological wherewithal for this shit. So I'm sitting between the end of an era,
right,
and the beginning of a new era, and I'm literally there's no, and I'm like in the crack, and I fucking can't figure out what to do. So I've got so I've got these groups that are coming to me. There's like three different groups.
Groups meaning production companies?
A production company.
New Wave Entertainment?
New Wave is the one who basically said, we're going to do these.
They crank them out.
We're going to crank these out. And then you have another group that's come in, another production group that's coming in that's looking to do this kind of thing. And then you have Epics, which is looking to do this kind of thing.
To shoot specials themselves.
Yeah. And Epics, or to have me shoot it and get it out to Epics, or have me shoot it and get it out to this other group. And in the meanwhile, it's like I want it to get out.
Right.
I mean, I want to shoot it and get it out. The problem with the last one is it was a year from the time that I shot it in Detroit to when it got out. And that was the end of it. I was like, are you fucking shitting me?
And why did it take so long?
Well, just, let's start with legal. Let's go through all of that nonsense. And we need an hour. We need a 55-minute version for Epics, wants 55, and then we do this, and then, we really would rather have that. And so we go back and do it again. So that becomes like 4 to 6 months, and then we finally get it, and now they're going to advertise it, so we got another month, and then I'm going to do the promo, and like 8 months. So it goes up. It actually probably went up in 7 or 8 months, but it's on Epics. Well, I mean, God love Epics, but it's not getting out. It's getting out to a certain group, and in the end, I think because of Epics and Netflix, it was seen, but it still did not have the kind of impact that I saw with HBO. Now, whether that impact still exists, I don't know.
Right.
But it is a place that more people turn to me in the course of the past. More people have turned to me and said, I saw you on HBO, because I'm in rotation there.
Right.
Then turn to me and go, I saw I saw Stark, Raven, and Black, or I saw In God We Rust, and it's really not the fault of Epix, and not the fault, but of them. It's just that trying to figure out how you get it up and out.
Would you ever do the direct to consumer model where you just upload it to your? I mean, that's
website? I've thought about it, but it's like my problem is I got an audience that's in age from 15 to 80. I mean, I have a totally family audience. I have 3 generations showing up. Well, 2 of the generations are not. I'm not going to watch. I can't sit. And it's all a matter of learning curve. And I will watch. I'm good for 10 minutes on. If I'm on a plane, okay, sure. But otherwise, fuck you. I'm not. If I'm at home now, of course, with Lewis, you could get this, and then he could that, and you could transfer it. Well. You come over and get my Apple TV hooked to my fucking TV because I've got the fucking thing and I don't know. It's like I have no clue.
Yeah.
And if I have no clue, I know that a lot of people in my audience don't have that clue, and they're not. And a lot of people are not going to watch it on that.
Yeah.
They're not going to watch it on that screen, and but I've also thought that what I would do is just to get something out there at this point, because I'm pissed about it, is doing, and in order to make a kind of a statement in the sense of, look, I make my money off of touring.
Yeah.
So to do it where I've got this stuff I just want to, that is not going to end up in my thing, in my special, that I've already got. I mean, I'm sitting at this point in time on 2 hours of material. That's the other frustrating
Dear
thing.
God.
So it's frustrating because so instead of, what I'd like to do is, dump a portion of that and send it out for free. And mostly to see what the response would be.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's arguments from within my community of people I work with. Well, how are people going to know, and how are we going to advertise it?
Right.
And I kind of go, I'm giving it away for free. That's the advertisement. If I give away basically a free 30-minute or 45-minute concert, because I'm doing something in the show that I'm now that. Well, eventually is going to be a part of my act, so I don't really want to talk about it.
That's fine.
It's just, but that would add another 20. So I'd do an hour, really, 20 minutes of material, and then 40 off of this thing, and then, and I think if I do that and you do it for free, you basically if nobody really, that's not enough of an advertisement on its own. The people wouldn't know. Yeah, I would need to tell people I've got a free thing.
Yeah, that seems good enough. I don't think you'd have to dump a bunch of money into
I think
marketing.
That's the ad.
Yeah.
It is an ad in the end. It's an ad to, you may want to come see me.
Right.
And if we're going to do something, that's really for 100,000 or 120,000 or whatever, then why not do it for 20,000 or whatever? And the people who come to see the show, they'll basically pay for the studio time,
right?
Because they're coming to see a concert and they're a part of that night, and then it goes out, and it's.
I think that would thrill the comedy community, comedy audiences. I'd help push it, Lewis.
Thank you.
You wouldn't have to pay me a dime.
Really? We'd have to do another podcast. Son of a bitch.
No, we wouldn't. I would not subject you to that.
Oh, please.
Again, once.
No, we have to.
Once is enough. No, I mean, sure. So you're invited. You're invited back on. But Lewis, I'm going to let you go now because you have spent more than enough time with me.
Well, I have.
I appreciate your time. I know.
No, it was a pleasure.
I know you're busy.
No, I'm not.
You're not?
No, I'm going to go find my lunch. And then I'm going to go take a nap.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
But it was fun.
Thank you, Louis.
And if anybody out there in that community of scholars that pay attention to Laughspin has another idea in terms of what you do in terms of this, because really it's figuring out what to do next. So that because what has irritated me is that there's a certain amount of my stuff that's lost immediacy over time, and it's like, and one of the other thing I may do is an app,
Yeah, I was going to say there's always the web. What about a like a weekly, like a 10-minute podcast?
Well, that's the thing. I don't really want to do that. What I like to do, because it's the way I work, and there's always been a problem. It's always been like, why don't you write something for your Facebook page? Well, you know why not? I don't, because I do 20, anywhere from to 20, probably about 10 to 30 interviews a month.
Yeah.
So I'm doing it. So can we put that there? Do I really need to write personal messages?
Right.
I'm talking to them when I'm talking, So for me, it's what I want to do is to create, because I've got a ton of stuff that I do that just gets thrown away. I'll be here tonight. There'll be 3 minutes guaranteed that will never occur again in my act.
Right.
And rightfully so. But I'd like the 3 minutes, I'd like to have something that people can go to and go, oh, Louis was here last night, what did he say? Then it makes sense.
Yeah.
Then I'm in front of an audience doing what I do. It doesn't become me sitting, this is not the natural environment for me. Talking to another human being, but sitting in front doing, you know what I mean?
No.
If I sat around, we've talked about it, Kathleen and I and John Bowman, my opener, and a number of others have talked, Mike Wilmot, have talked about doing something together, and it might come to pass at some point, but that's different. That's a totally different thing. But me alone, that would be another way that I could hook up, and it's immediate and it's out there, and and they don't wait to see me on the Daily Show,
right? Which has become painfully long times between your appearances. But you're busy. I get it.
It's partly them, partly me. It's just the time frame, because a lot of the times I can do it, they've got a lot of people now. Larry's doing it, Wilmore, and there's all sorts of folks that are doing it. So they don't need me the way they used to need me, which is sad. I weep at night. I would like to do it more. I wish I could.
Well, it's a pleasure whenever you do pop on to the Daily Show.
Well, thank you, and it's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you, Louis. I appreciate it.
It was a lot of fun.
Thank you. Thank you. Take care. And there you have it, Louis Black on the Laughspin Podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. I loved talking to Louis. I want to thank Louis for spending so much time with me, talking about his life, talking about comedy. It was a great time. Like I said in the intro, there's going to be more of these, so definitely stay tuned, and definitely keep listening to us on SoundCloud, on iTunes, on allthingscomedy.com, on Stitcher. We do this every week. We give you the news, the comedy news of the week. We'd love to hear from you. If you want to email me, by all means, Dylan, D-Y-L-A-N, Dylan at laughspin.com. Please send me a message, leave a review on iTunes, and of course, you have to visit laughspin.com every day, many times a day. Thanks a lot, guys. See ya.